Okay, so our clock display is not lighting up. So we are getting power. If we hit power, we do get power lights coming on. We got a flashing light for stop. So I think that this machine is definitely going to have power supply problems. It could be also that the clock display has, maybe the actual clock has went out, or it's got a power issue. I think it's probably got a power issue. So let's see if it'll accept a tape. It might need a voltage regulator, unless it's a linear power supply. Let's see if it'll accept. It does accept the tape. Okay, let's hit play. Okay, it's not doing anything, so let's see, is the eject working? Okay, so it goes in, but it will not play. Alright. We don't have anything. It won't do anything. And I'm thinking that it's got power supply issue. I really, honestly, I'm thinking that this has probably got some bad capacitors. But what I'm really thinking is that it may have a missing voltage. I'm thinking that the voltage regulator IC has failed. I won't know anything until we get inside of the machine. So what I do want to do for now is take the top off and let's take a peek at the inside, and let's see if we can find anything out. It almost acts like maybe the stop button is stuck. So it might be a it's probably also got a belt that's not working either, but I don't hear a belt. Because the buttons don't function. Yeah, nothing is even working at all. Fast forward, rewind doesn't work. That's what makes me think that, and with the clock not lighting up, this is what's making me think it might have a voltage regulator that has failed, that needs to be put in, a new one put in. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna take the top off and we'll take a look and see if this power supply even has a voltage regulator. I'm assuming that this machine was probably a Panasonic made machine, so it would be good to have this thing up and going. It is nice to have something to work on this weekend. So let's get the top off and see if maybe we can look at the power supply and see if there's a voltage regulator. If it doesn't have a voltage regulator, then more than likely it's going to be either a capacitor, it could be a Zinger diode, it might be a resistor, It could be a number of things. So what we'll need to do is test some voltages, see if it's getting voltage too. But it does act like it's not getting voltage to anything. So, alright, we'll pop the top off. Okay, so we've got the top off. Now, this does have a voltage regulator IC, like I thought it did. So let me show you where that regulator is going to be. And that regulator, right down in here. This voltage regulator IC down in here. But here's what I want to do. I want to take the power supply out of the VCR, take it apart, because I want to see if maybe it's just a capacitor issue or another or a different component that might have failed. One of the things I could do is test to see if the voltage is there. It's getting voltage from the wall, so it's getting power going into the power supply. But the power supply is not distributing the power throughout the whole thing. So I don't see any bulging tops, but that doesn't mean anything, because you never know until you test it. Now, looks like it's got a bunch of components that I'm not familiar with. Here's some components here too. So, it's got a bunch of fuses. These are big capacitors. These are 35 volt at 220. Actually, that's 2200. That's a 35 volt at 2200 on that one. And that one looks like about 16 volt at 3, or what is that, a 16 at 3? Yeah, it's a 16 at 330 microfarad. So, yeah, that's the best thing that we can do, is to pull this power supply completely out and then start doing some tests and see if it's got capacitor issue. Is old. Now, as old as this particular machine is, I wouldn't doubt it that there's some capacitors that has went bad. So, but this power supply looks like it's in pretty good shape. However, this kind of looks weird right over here. Oh, I guess it's just a shrink wrap. So, we're getting power to the power supply. It's just we're not getting power to certain areas of the machine, such as the clock, and the transport mechanisms is not working either. So now there's a lot of interesting components on this machine. This is the idler tire. I have a brand new idler for this, so I can put a new idler on here, and that'll take care of that should take care of the mechanical aspects. In order to get the mechanical part working, we have to get the power supply working first, and once we do that, then we can tackle any mechanical issues, if there are any. I guarantee you there will be, because this tire feels kind of hard, like it's really dried out. So, and I'm sure the belts are shot on this thing. I don't know if it was ever serviced in the past, but it looks like it may not have been. It just doesn't look like it has been taken apart, but you don't know with these, you know. So, looks like there's another circuit board here on the side. So I'm not sure what all this stuff does. This one might be the this is some kind of amplifier. This is an amplifier, and I don't know what kind of amplifier. It might be the control amp. Let's see what that is. Yeah, that's probably the audio amp or something. That might be an amplifier for the audio. So I'm gonna pull the power supply out and disconnect it, and I'm gonna do some testing and see what might be going on here. But I think we're gonna do what I will do is we'll look at the power supply a little bit later. I just wanted to do the unboxing video, and I wanted to take the top off just to take a peek at the inside. It looks like this is a very well built, well engineered, and to think it took all this electronics and moving parts to make a VCR working. And if you look at a 2005 VHS machine, the mechanism is so cheaply made and so simple. You compare a 2005 VHS to this 1984 VHS, there's quite a bit of difference, because you've got so many circuit boards and all kinds of different things. But this was built to last. This was built to be serviced. So anyway, we'll see you in the next video. Bye bye. I've got the power supply out. I ended up desoldering the ground wire that was connected to the board. So that green wire connects to that area right there. So all I have to do is resolder that wire into place once I reinstall power supply. So what I'm going to do here is take a look at some of these electrolytics. And let's just see if any of them has failed. Sometimes, usually the big ones don't fail, but there has been cases and situations where they have failed. You know, you just never know. I tested the fuses, and the fuses tested fine. I tested the, what was it? Oh, that was it. That's all I tested so far, was just these 4 fuses. And I think oh yeah, I tested the Zinger diode. And the Zinger diode is right down here, this little blue one right here. So that's the diode, and that one is fine. Nothing wrong with that. So the only thing we need to investigate and look at is the capacitors. So let's just see if any of these caps are bad or see if they're open. So I got my meter here. I'm going to use my meter and we'll test these caps, and I'll tell you what my findings are in just a minute here. So I'm working on the power supply here, and I've got about 3 or 4 caps that tested bad. I got 2 here that tested very, very low, so that means they're bad. Now one of them is a 16 volt at 3300 UF, and we've got a 25 volt at 1000 UF. So I think I have a 25 at 1000 microfarad. So I'm going to see what I've got. I've got a few capacitors that I could replace with. So I'm going to replace, I think this one is also bad. This is another 25 at 1000. This one is probably been replaced at one time. I think somebody has been into this power supply because there were some screws that were loose. Now, probably what might have happened is that this VCR was probably at a local repair shop, and I bet you that they took a look at the power supply. How do I know that? Because the screws were very loose. The screws were not tight. So somebody had been into this power supply. And I bet you they tested some of these caps and they were bad, and they probably quoted the owner how much it would be, and the owner probably decided that they didn't want to spend the money to get this thing fixed. And then they probably just donated it to a thrift store, and this was picked up at a thrift store and sold on eBay. So what I want to do is find the caps that I need. I'm going to change these 2. For starters, I'm going to change these 2. I'll probably change some of the other ones. This one's okay, and this one tested okay. So I think it was just, well, there's another one over here that's testing bad as well. And this one's testing a little bit low. So I'm thinking that by just putting these caps in, I'm hoping that we'll get the power supply working again and give power, because I think it's lost power to the deck, the power that goes to the mechanical part, the main deck. So it's definitely lost a voltage, and you can see that they're not bulging, but one of them is a Sanyo capacitor, and this one I think is also a Sanyo cap, and this one's gotten hot. Yeah, this is also a Sanyo, and this has gotten hot. So I'm thinking that, I'm hoping that this hoping I have caps that I need. So I'm gonna go take a look and see what caps I do have, because I do have a few of the bigger caps. Hi guys, I've replaced all of the capacitors, every cap has been changed. And these are all the old ones, and I still do not have a clock display. So there might be something going on with the actual clock, or there's something going on with the circuitry, something going on the circuit board. However, I'm now able to get the play to engage. Now if I hit play, it goes on play and you can hear the motor trying to turn, and the motor is not doing anything. And I did take this top circuit board off and took a look underneath, and there's no belt, there's no loading belt from the top side. So apparently the belt's going to be on the bottom side. So at least we got this thing so that it will at least play once the belt has been installed. So I'm going to take the bottom part off and take a look at the bottom side and see what I can see, and we'll change the belts and see if we can't get this thing to up and running. It also tells me now it's telling me that the tape is in when it's inserted. That light is now coming on, which didn't come on before. You can hear it trying to spin and it won't do anything. So that's definitely belt related issue. So we're getting a lot further. So it may still be a voltage regulator issue. That might be why the clock's not working. Maybe the clock's not getting any voltage. So let's take a look underneath and see what we can find. Hey guys, it's now Saturday afternoon, and I was working on this on the RCA VHS Hi-Fi VCR, and I got the power supply fixed. We still have no clock display, but I was able to put 2 brand new belts. I got these 2 brand spanking new belts that I put on. So now I'm going to put this thing back together, put the circuitry back together, get the bottom piece back on, put the front faceplate back on, and then we're going to test it and see what it does. Because I think it'll start working now, because it now has belts. So I just need to reattach the components. There's some wires and stuff that I had to disconnect so I can get it up high enough to where I could work on it. So this has got a direct drive capstan. It's got a direct drive head drum motor. This is I think this is a direct drive idler motor as well. So this is quite an interesting mechanism. I'm sure that this is more than likely a Panasonic machine, because most of the RCA VCRs from the late 70s and early 80s, early to mid 80s, they were Panasonic made machines. So let's get this, I'm going to get this back together, and then we're going to see what we can do and see if we can get it going again. Well, I had this thing all back together, and then I had to take it apart because I had an issue. This plastic thing needs to go back down. There's a plastic piece here, it has to go back down, but I'll get that later. But anyway, this is what it does so far. It will engage play. It starts to play for a second and then it stops. So we'll show you what it does. I think play is... See? That's turning, but this is just barely doing anything. So it's going to go into automatic shutdown. So we can go ahead and hit eject, and I'll show you exactly what's going on with this. You see this belt? This belt has turned to goo just like the other two belts. So we're going to have to change this belt here. As you can see, it's basically stuck to the basically stuck here. It's wound all the way around, see? So if oh, it's all gooey, I don't want to touch it. I'm going to get my dental pick and pull this thing out and change the belt, because this belt, I believe, does have to be on there in order for the take-up reel to turn, but also the idler also has something to do with playback as well. So I was thinking that this belt was just like for a timer, for the time counter, but then I realized that this thing has a digital time counter. So it's not a mechanical time, it does not have a mechanical time counter. So this belt is responsible for the no playback. So I'm going to change that and we'll get it going. Alright, let's go ahead and hook this on. I'm going to pull this out. See, it's already snapped. It's basically been stretched. So I'm going to get that off, and then I'm going to see if I can find another belt, because I ordered a belt kit quite a while ago for RCA VCRs, and there was quite a few assortment of belts, so I'm sure that one of those belts is going to fit for the take-up reel. Yep, there's the belt. There she is. She's all complete. She's turning into goo. That's basically what's happening. So I've got to find another belt that I can use, and the belt turned into a very soft, gooey substance. So we're going to put a belt. I do have a belt kit here that I just put somewhere. I just got it somewhere. I'm going to go get a belt for this thing, and should be able to get this thing up and going again. Okay, so I don't have any belts. I do have belts, but I have to find them, and because I recently moved, a lot of my stuff is still in boxes. I'm still unboxing things, and I know I do have a set of belts somewhere, but right now I can't get to them. So here's what I done as a temporary situation, and again, this is a temporary situation. This is not something that I'm going to continue to use, okay? But I put a rubber band, this rubber band right here. Now that should allow it to play. I don't know, it should, but you never know with these old machines, so let's give it a try. Hey, there it goes. She's playing. She's working. Okay, now do we have a picture on the TV screen? That's what we're going to find out. So, what I'm going to do, eject. I'm going to put this thing back together. It seems how everything is working now. What I'm going to do is put it back together. I'm going to put the front piece back on, put the bottom boards on, everything, put it back on, and I'm still going to leave the top piece off. Although, I think that this circuit board might be responsible for the clock display. That's what I'm guessing. It looks like the clock display is definitely attached. Okay, here's the clock display. Let's just see, you know what, instead of putting it together, because I'm gonna have to work on this board right here anyway. Might as well just leave it apart until I can get because I want to take a look at this. But I want to see if there's a picture on this thing before we do anything else. So I'm gonna hook up a monitor to it, and then what I'll do is go and then we'll try to work on the clock display and see if I can get the clock to come on. Now the clock may be completely dead. The actual clock mechanism could have some problems. It might just be some bad caps because we replaced capacitors in the power supply, which I've actually recapped the whole entire power supply to get this thing up and running, to get the transport mechanism working, because the tape would go in but nothing else would happen. So, you know, by fixing the power supply, putting new belts on this thing, and now this thing is working like it should. And I'm very happy to have a Selectavision video cassette recorder. I wish that this was a linear stereo. I thought I was buying a linear stereo, but I wasn't. So I bought a hi-fi, which is fine. I don't know why. I just really like the linear stereo VCRs. They're just fascination, I guess. So, but I could turn the hi-fi off and I could still get my linear stereo. I don't know. Just not the same, so. Alright, let's get this hooked up and see if we got a picture. So I've got it hooked up going into the front jacks of my, I got it going into the front of my SLH of 1000, and from the SLH of 1000 to the television. So let's just see if we've got video. Let's just see what's going on. Let's just get it in there. Alright. It's in, oh, it's got a on-screen display. So let's hit play. There we go. Well, our audio isn't working, so let's track it. Let's try the tracking. Now, there we go. Tracking is off just a hair. That'll affect the hi-fi audio. I can't show that for a few seconds because I think what I can do is this. I can go like that. That way I don't get a copyright strike. And then I can go like that. So, you know it's working, but yeah, we can't have... I don't want a copyright strike, so I'm just gonna do like this. Whoa, are you dizzy yet? Okay, so she's got a picture quality. This the next thing I need to do is clean the heads. But what I want to do is take a look at the clock display. That is cool. It's got a display. So, and it was a little jittery for a second, and then it went away. So I think if we play this thing for a little while, this thing will work. So, but what I want to do now is go ahead and take a look at the clock. See if maybe I can get this clock display to work. Because if I can get the clock working, that would be great. So, you know, I don't know why the clock isn't working. But with the clock not working is what made me think that maybe it had a voltage regulator IC problem. But it may still have a power supply issue too. I don't know. I could order a regulator chip for it. But at least we have a working unit. Or, you know, the clock doesn't work, but you know, at least we've got it to where it plays tapes. Now, will it record them? Yeah, we'll test out the recording. I gotta get a cassette that I could use to test the recordings out. I have a bunch of... I do have a few VHS tapes that I can just record over. Well, I like that display. So it's got a good display. Like I said, I can't show that for very long. So let's just go ahead and take a look. I'm going to take a look at the clock display and see what I can do. So, you know, I'm not sure what I can do, but we're going to take a look at it. So I've got the clock display circuitry. Took it apart here. So this board is responsible for the this looks like this has been the switch. Let's take a look at the switch, and the switch looks looks like that switch is broken. It looks like I gotta try to fix that. That looks like it might be, or no, maybe it's angled that way. Okay, the switch is made that way. Okay. Anyway, so I think this board is responsible for the clock display. It may also, this circuit board here could be responsible as well. But I'm just basically thinking that the one that's going to be responsible for repairing the clock display is probably going to be on this particular board right here. I'm not seeing any electrolytic capacitors on this board over here. So I'm thinking that the top board, I really would like to get this clock display to work. So what I want to do is test some of these caps and see if they might be responsible for the no clock. So I'm going to take a look at that. I'm going to do some tests and see, and then I'll let you know what my progress is. I've got my tester out and I've tested, and there's about 90% of the capacitors are bad. So we are going to change them. And what I also noticed that this thing has an awful lot of caps that are just no good. So I'm going to change those caps, and see, these are 100 at 25 volt. So a lot of these are either 50 volt or 25 volts. Here's a 50 volt at 47 microfarad. We've got a 25 volt at 100 microfarad. We've got a 4.7 at 50. We've got a 3.3 at 50. So there's quite a bit of caps. This green capacitor, I think, is actually responsible for the memory for remembering where, you know, for like timer recording and stuff. So let's just see what cap this one is. I think this Nichicon, this blue, the big blue cap right here by my thumb, I think that cap is okay. But that's a 6.3 volt at 1000 UF. So we're going to change the ones that I have. I don't have a 6.3 at 1000. So, but if I have a 10 volt at 1000, that would work too. That would be a little high, but it would work. So, let's get these changed, and hopefully by doing this we'll get the clock display up and going. So I'm gonna fire up my iron and get some of this stuff changed. Okay, so what I've done here is changed every single capacitor on this circuit board. Has been replaced except for the green one, because I don't have one of these. This is a 5.5 volt at 0.47, and I might be able to put like a 10 volt, but I don't have anything that would be that low on microfarad. So I'm just gonna have to leave it in there and order one. I will order one online if this works. If the clock comes back on, then I will order some of the 5.5 volt at 0.47 microfarad caps. So I'm going to put this back together and see if it works. Well, I just put it all back together. We changed all the capacitors and didn't make a change. Did not get my clock working at all. So, well, it's an issue. I was doing some other testing, and the actual VFD display is actually not working. So one of the IC chips has failed, or it's the actual clock that has went out on it. And that does happen. Sometimes VCR, sometimes the clocks go out on them, and there's not much you can do sometimes. So this is just one that I can, you know, keep as a playback deck, or if I wanted to record, I could record in the LP speed. I actually got it preset for that speed. But anyway, so there's the switch. See, we got 3 speeds: SP, LP, SLP. SP is the fastest, but I do like LP because it gives you, you still get a decent quality picture, but yet you're able to put more on the tape, like 4 hours on one tape. Unless you've got like a T160, then you can put like, I think, an extra hour if you got a T160 tape. Because the T160s, those were the 8-hour tapes. So I think you could probably get 6 hours on the LP speed. So, that's one of the things I liked about this particular machine, is that not only was it a SelectaVision model, but it did have all 3 speeds. So, anyway, that'll be it for this video, and at least we got it up and going again. We got it running, and power supply, we fixed that. We put new belts in, and got this thing operating, and it's working. So, I hope you enjoyed the video, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.